Ladies, welcome back to the PowerFemme podcast. I'm so excited to have you. Today we have Moriah Garcia in the studio. She is an actress, a model, a meditation practitioner, as well as a somatic healer for women. She has done such incredible work. She is a volunteer for people, victims of sexual trafficking. She has even overcome a lot of her own initiations in life, which we dive into in the podcast. So if you are somebody who is going through it, you're in your Saturn return, you're wondering, how do I become the most evolved and expressed version of myself? This episode is your permission slip. So I can't wait for you to hear more. Let's dive in.
You're listening to PowerFemme Radio. This is a podcast where ladies come together and try to share their opinions and empower each other to be better women in society.
Did he just say try?
You're listening to PowerFemme, where women don't try, we do.
I'm so proud of you for clicking on the PowerFemme podcast today and coming here for just a moment of inspiration. That tells me that you are someone who has big goals, big dreams, and you are a PowerFemme because you are willing to do whatever it takes to reach them. So I just want to say that if you're someone who has a big dream or a burning passion to make a difference in the world, but for whatever reason it feels like that enthusiasm isn't really translating into the work you're doing, I just want to say that there is a solution, and that solution is called PowerFemme's Unshakable Confidence Challenge. This is a 5-day challenge that I am hosting, and it's designed to unlock inspiration, ignite momentum, and really get you results like you've never had before. If you're someone who wants to get paid to do what you love and make a difference in the world, this is for you. I'm going to play a couple of clips from the girls who have participated in the challenge so you can really hear what they're saying. And if it feels like it's a good fit for you, then I cannot recommend enough clicking the link below in the show notes and joining me for the next one. The VIP room is where you're going to get an hour of coaching with me before the challenge itself every single day. And that is where a lot of magic happens, and there are so many breakthroughs in that room. Click the link below, check it out, see if it's a good fit, and join me live. I can't wait to see you.
Heidi's 5-day challenge ended today, and I'm so sad. I'm like shocked at how different I feel in 5 days.
Not living a purposeful life is just killing me. I got so much value out of this week, and I'm just ready to continue that progress. Also, oh my God, these women are so inspiring. I'm so, honestly, I love this group. I love it, love it, love it.
That was such a sweet week for me and so good for me, and I absolutely loved it, and I loved my time. Girl, it was fire, and I loved it.
I had so many aha moments. Everything that I learned, I am applying, and my life has changed. I would do it again.
Moriah Garcia, welcome to the PowerFemme podcast.
Hi, babe.
Hi. I'm so excited to interview you today. I know this conversation is going to be the ultimate permission slip for those who are listening, right? So if you are a woman who knows she is meant for more, you're ready to bust open and tap into your full potential, I think that's going to happen after this combo.
I love that. Thank you.
I feel like, do we need to do like a parental advisory discretion?
I think with me, that's a safe precaution.
It's a good idea.
in any way.
Yeah. So if the kids are listening, maybe they have no idea what we're talking about. That's cool too. I'm sure there will be a little, just the conversation's going to be deep.
Yeah. Even my childhood was explicit.
So yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So explicit content on its way, but in the best way, in the best possible way. Moriah, you are the ultimate permission slip. Like when you walk into a room, I don't know what the general response is for you, but for me, when I see you, I'm just like, holy woman. Like, wow, full expression, not afraid, unabashed. Here I am, and damn proud of it.
Thank you.
It's such a beautiful thing. Has that always been the case for you?
I received that. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes and no. I'm an Aries. From the jump, I was born and was ready to just take on the stage by storm. I was always loud. I was always commanding the attention of everyone.
Yeah.
So I think that's who I innately am by my own nature. And then growing up, once I got a bit older, later on, I felt as I was doing this healing girl era, I thought, oh, that's very unladylike to take up space or be loud or be so extra. And so I thought, oh, I need to simmer it back a little bit. And for a while was not fully authentically myself. And so now I am in my Saturn return, and I'm just realizing my goddaughter is an Aries, and I've been able to witness from her birth how she has commanded the attention of everyone. Even literally when she was born, the doctor said, oh, you got a loud one. And that's how she is. And seeing her in her own juvenile, pure essence of just commanding the attention of everyone in the room, and she's so naturally gifted at it, it was my permission slip to think, oh, actually, this is not ego. Ego is me caring what people think about me. So me trying to come off as more ladylike in the view of others, that's ego, is me caring what other people think and not being who I am. And who I am, I'm a loud and proud babe.
Loud and proud.
Yeah.
Loud and proud Latina.
Yeah.
She is here. She's ready.
Right.
Yeah, that's incredible. So how old is your niece?
My goddaughter,
Your
your
goddaughter.
3. Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're learning from a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how you can learn from children?
Oh, they are equally our teachers for sure. I was a teacher for a brief moment, and my students were equally my teachers as well.
You were a teacher.
Yeah, for a hot second during the pandemic when everything shut down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you teach?
I taught RTI English. So I worked with children in middle school in the panhandle of Texas. I'm from Texas, but not the panhandle. And so for one semester, because I was full-time acting and modeling before, and then when the industry shut down, after months of not working, I thought I need to do something. So I went to stay with family in the panhandle, and I was a RTI teacher, which stands for response to intervention. So I worked with middle schoolers who had difficulty reading at their grade level.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was such a gift.
That's incredible. Okay, so I love this idea of like you're meant for more. You are an actress as well. And a lot of women who listen to this podcast are also of a creative background, whether that be they just have a big dream, whether that be like writing, singing, acting, modeling, being behind the camera, producing something, creating something bigger than themselves, right? And I'm curious what that journey has been like for you in allowing yourself to be more than an actress and a model.
Yeah. I have this saying for myself, which is follow your daydream. And so when I went to school originally, I went to school for journalism, thinking that I was going to be a reporter, an anchor woman. And while I was in class, I just kept daydreaming about myself acting in Los Angeles. And it was a repeating daydream, just reoccurring. And so I just stopped myself and thought, if I'm thinking about it this much right now at this age, I cannot imagine getting any older and having regrets that I didn't just go for it.
Yes.
So that's what I do. If the vision comes to you, it's there for a reason. So to me, my daydreams are kind of like the carrot in front of the horse's mouth, where I just follow that. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. We've talked a few times about this too, and like low key, you're a psychic. Like I just feel like you are a psychic, right? So I wonder, it's like, are these future visions that you're actually seeing? Right?
Yeah.
It's like these daydreams that you have. It's like, that's your compass. That's your North Star.
100%. And spirit will not let me shake it off. There are visions that I've had for myself, things that I don't desire or wasn't wanting exactly for myself. And spirit will just put it in front of me and will not shake it off. It'll come up in my plant medicine ceremonies. It'll come up in my dreams. It'll come up in my downloads. I can't shake it off. And so I just have to fully surrender to it because it's almost like I don't have a choice.
Okay. I want to hear about the first time you heard that spirit voice, God, direction, energy.
With psychic abilities in general, or with like life purpose
things.
So I will say I grew up having psychic visions of things that ended up happening. A lot of them, unfortunately, were with loss, but they became true. And so I realized that it wasn't until my adult age where I saw a holistic psychiatrist, and he, at the end of our session of me opening up for our very first session, at the end of it, he said, "You do realize you're psychic, right?" And I thought, "What? Dude, I just shared with you my life story. How did you pull that?" And he said, "Oh, well, how you went through this one event when you were little and this other event when you were in college and this event. Each time you shared these stories, you foresaw it happening." And so when I thought about it, it made me realize that that was true. And so I had to sit with that, and I thought, okay, I can acknowledge that is true. And I also thought that being psychic was of the devil, because I grew up and with my family, everything was of the devil. You cannot see a psychic. You cannot do tarot reading. You cannot do any of this. You can't trust yourself. And so I was scared to have this gift, but then I realized that it is a spiritual gift, and it feels very pure, and it's nothing I have control over. So let me embrace it and see it for what it is, and not have shame over it. So I asked him if I am psychic, how do I start honing in on that? And he said, it'll come naturally with time. The more healing you do, it's like cleaning a magnifying glass. And it really has been that way since. So I've done a lot of healing, mentally and physically, and the gifts just come to me almost involuntarily. It's harder for me to channel. I'm getting better at it, but the gifts come to me. So the funny thing about my ability with my own career and passions is my body will physically crave a sensation as if it's done something before. So almost like how you crave certain foods. You're like, I've tasted this pizza and I'm really craving pizza from the certain location. My body will have those type of cravings, but for experiences that I've never done before. So the first one was pole dancing, which Moriah, did not desire to do, but my body, I would hear certain songs and my body would feel this craving to spin in the air and do inverted tricks, and have had this really whimsical feeling attached to it. And it was me pole dancing. But because which we can get into in a bit, is my mother was an exotic dancer. She was a stripper. And I had a lot of shame towards it. I tried to stay far away from that scene. And so I did not want to be anything associated to it. So pole dancing wasn't even something that I wanted to do. Wow. But my body craved it. So during the pandemic, I just bought a pole and I taught myself inverted tricks within 1 week. Taught myself. And I became so good. And it's done this with other experiences.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Wow. So much to unpack here. So much to unpack here. Just first of all, the thing that you said that stood out to me the most, Moriah, was like you always had this thing inside of you, these gifts inside of you, that it was like you would be punished for these things that were just natural about who you were. Yeah. And I think as a woman, we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. Yeah. Right? And so I would love to hear more about your mother's experience as a pole dancer and how that affected you. Yeah. And how you've navigated that duality of like, I'm damned if I'm me and I'm damned if I'm not me.
Yes, 100%. My mom, with my oldest sibling, she had a teenage pregnancy and was kicked out of the house. And I think that was the initial reason why she went into stripping.
How old was she?
She got pregnant at either 16 and had the baby by 17, my oldest brother. And she went, after she had my brother, she went into stripping, but really loved it. She really, really did love dancing. By actual pole dancing, we joke about it because she's really not good at it. I think she loved just being a stripper, but like as an actual pole dancer, she can't dance. She'll tell you. Like we tried to get her on my own pole back home, and she couldn't do it, and she just laughs. So we're different in that sense, because I actually like pole dancing. Right. I don't want to do the any other part of the exotic dancer scene, but so she really loved it. And then she later on had my sister and stayed in it. And then later on met my dad. And at the time that she met my dad at the time was a pastor, and she had just came into Christianity. And so she met him when she was his waitress at a little diner. And when she went to drop off the food, she paused because she was allowing them to finish their prayer for their meal. And then she finished like serving them. And then she got so excited. She was like, oh, you're praying for your food? This, and this. I just became a Christian, blah, 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 blah. So that's how they first met. There's a whole other backstory with both my father and my mother. But my dad growing up, for me growing up, had a lot of shame towards any association of her being an exotic dancer. And so they divorced when I was about 1 or 2. And I spent the weekends with my father, and she continued to dance. And so during the week, I was taking care of myself at home because my mother was out working. And so since I was in elementary school, I was like making myself dinner and doing my homework and putting myself to bed. And she was at the strip club, and she did have a daytime job as well. She really worked hard. And I never received love from her as well emotionally. I felt more of my emotional love come from my dad. And so then I would spend the weekends with him, and he would just, any topic of her, he would shame her and shame and shame. And then as I got older, any resemblance that he saw of me in her, of her and me, he would shame as well. So I then started to internally shame myself for anything associated with her, because 1, that's not the parent that I'm loved by or felt loved by. And 2, the parent that I do feel loved by, this is very wrong and it's condemned. And so I try to stay far away from it. But now that I'm closer to the age of when my mother had me, I feel so much of her in me and can recognize that.
Right.
And now, for the first time a few weeks ago, I realized, what if the way she expresses herself, because she really did love stripping. She really loved it and didn't want to stop. Even if she was financially cared for by her partner, she didn't want to quit. And so now I recently came to the discovery that what if what I thought was this curse or shame from my mother with how she sexually expresses herself, what if in actuality it was my own permission slip and my own medicine?
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, it's like, it's actually such a gift.
Yeah.
Because you have this vivacious mother who is determined and will express herself and is ultimately so free despite criticism, despite judgment, right? What has it looked like for you to allow yourself to explore with that medicine?
Oh, it's just freedom, really. It's really freedom.
Is this a recent thing or
very recent?
Okay,
so when I went to college, I was a really funny, comedic, silly young woman. And then when I went to college, I started to get a lot, as I started to develop, I started to get a lot of acknowledgement and attention from my appearance. And I did this campus calendar at ASU, which was really popular, and only 12 girls a year. And it's the biggest university in the nation. So only 12 girls each year get selected. And I was one of the 12. And it was like a big thing.
Yeah.
Like I was the month of July, coincidentally.
Oh my gosh, July. Yay,
yeah,
love. We're in July.
There was a lot of college boys who
God bless America, baby.
A lot of college boys who had July up the whole year.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
I had sorority sisters who'd come, they're like, I just went to this frat party and they had your month, but it was not July. Like,
oh my God, that's
like they
so
just
funny.
kept up my month the whole year. So I got a lot of attention for my appearance, and then and I love looking cute. I love it. I love it. And I don't know what it is, but when I recently turned 30 a few months ago, I just came to be honest with myself of what it is that I enjoy in life, what it is that I like. And I love looking sexy. I love it. I love it. I love taking my thirst trap pictures. It's fun for me.
Yes.
It's not even if there's any external validation about it that feels good for me, it's not the male attention. It's actually how many women have told me how I inspire them to be more of themselves. That's the best feeling in the world. Because I'm like, in a confident way, I don't need to take off my clothes to get a man's attention, you know?
Right.
But when I'm doing something that feels really good for me and other women are telling me how they channel me for their confidence when they're going out at night or when they're taking pictures. Like the other day, we were at the beach and a few friends asked me, they're like, can you take my pictures? Like, where it's just a little bit more risque than I normally take. And I'm like, yeah, babe, let me show you the angles. Yeah. Like, okay, sit that way. Okay, this is how you're going to pose. And I get so excited. I'm like, yeah, take it.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what I would describe you as, is the permission slip. Like I said earlier, like there's something about you where it's just like, it's not like you're trying to put anything in anybody's face. It's just, you're like, here I am. It's like the ultimate like heart opener, I feel like, because it's like, it's vulnerable.
Oh, totally.
It's totally vulnerable.
Totally.
It's not from a place of ego. And actually, you have a quote on your Instagram. And so this is like the perfect time for me to bring this up. It said that you posted this on the 4th of July, which I was with you on the 4th of July. 4th of July is all about freedom, obviously.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So the post is, I know this sounds cheesy, but I've been reflecting lately on what it means to be free. Are we free? I'm not referring to us as a country, but our individual expression. Are we free? There's so many layers to our authenticity, and I know that the way I portray myself is not entirely as free as I know I actually am. People are becoming strange shapes, trying to fit in. It breaks my heart that some don't have the courage to authentically express themselves out of fear of being judged. What parts of yourself are you withholding? How differently would you portray yourself if you did not have any fear of being judged? Now imagine how free you would be if you did it anyways. What does that mean to you, Moriah? It's so good.
I love that that caption meant something to you, because it means a lot to me, and it's been my like medicine that I've been sitting with right now. Are we free from the expectations of our parents, from the expectations of our partners, of our friendships, of ourselves? Are we just with our careers? Are we going through the motions that we've set ourselves up for? And because we've come this far, I might as well just stick to it. But deep down are unhappy, but feel like it's too late to turn around. And it's, I feel that's what ego is caring what other people think about you. Well, you went to school and you got this degree. Why are you going to, and you have a good paying job and you're in this field. Why would you change that now? Or you have a family to provide for, which I can't speak on that because I don't yet have children of my own. But I see a lot of parents who are sticking to the job that they've been doing for so long just because they feel it's the only way they can provide for their children because they're too scared to redirect their lives, but deep down have daydreams of something else. And so I can't speak on the parental provisional part for your family, but in general, I feel like, I know who I am behind closed doors, and that is a woman who's really comfortable with her body. I've been a naked baby since the jump. Like I was running around naked since I was little, and that's before society told me what my body meant to men or anyone else or how it should be presented. That's just who I was since I was little. I like my sister and I laugh about how she would babysit me, and she was like, oh my God, because I would take off my clothes and I would just run around like, ah!
Yeah.
And that's who I am.
Right.
I would love to be a mysterious woman at the corner of a bar or something. Sometimes I am, but
you're like, there's no mystery here.
There's no mystery to me. Like, I am an open book.
As you're saying all this, I'm thinking about the Bible, like,
yeah,
and how Adam and Eve were naked. Yeah. Right? In the Bible, they're naked. And then it's only when they like take from the tree and they bite the apple that they notice that each other is naked and they like have to cover up because they're ashamed.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting to think like if we were to strip away all judgment and self-insecurity, it's like you are damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Like you are, if we were to strip away, and we were talking about this earlier, if we were to strip away all the things that you identify with, a home, a car, a job, whatever, if we were to rip all those things away from Moriah, what we have is Moriah, her essence, her energy, her purpose, her soul, her blueprint that's here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's like true confidence right there.
Right. One of my favorite sessions that I do, I facilitate guided, personalized, channeled, guided meditations. And one of my favorite things that I sometimes do with my clients is we go deep into their subconscious. We really allow their body to fully relax. And there's a certain practice where we let go of literally everything, including like for a moment, can Heidi just close her eyes and let go of the clothes that she's wearing, of the room that she's in, of the career that she has for a moment.
It's hard. You're even saying it. And I'm just like, that's so hard.
And it's just for a moment. For a moment, can Heidi let go of her family, of her beautiful partner, of her dog? And even for a moment, not forever, just a moment, can you give yourself permission to let go of your name? Let go of your body. And just imagine it all disintegrating into the abyss, into space. What is left? What is left?
Yeah.
You tell me what when you think about that, what do you
this
feel
is good,
when
Moriah.
you strip it all away?
What's left? I mean, it's this undeniable presence, heart, energy. It's it's the essence. It's my essence. It's I think it's like it's what is it, like infinite intelligence?
Yeah.
Like divine wisdom. It's actually God.
Yeah.
Like,
is there a color to it if you had to pick a color?
Oh my God, I love this. All right, let me think. Purple. Yeah, okay. Purple. Yeah. Like there's just this like purple kind of energy that feels a little scattered, and it's formless, it's shapeless.
Yes.
And it feels wise, it feels true.
Is it scared?
There are like holes in it, if that makes sense. So like I love this so much. This is so good. Is it scared? No. It's not scared.
What's the emotion behind it?
Free. Love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's who you are. That's who you are. Without the name, without the body, this beautiful woman that you are, without the home and the family, without the beauty of the world and without the pain of the world. Like, this is who you are. You are formless. You are infinite. That, I feel, is there always, even before you entered this world in this human form, and I believe when you're gone. When I was little, I would be told what heaven looked like and read the Bible and have these descriptions. And I tried to imagine what the afterlife would look like. And so I would close my eyes and almost like pretend as if I like died. Like where would I go? Like what would life look like?
Right.
And when I really, really centered myself and focused on it, I felt like a literal star, just a bit of energy, of light. And what are stars? And the fact that we, in our own DNA, like we are made of stardust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really significant. So that's my own personal belief. I'm not going to project that onto anybody else, but what I would love for people to do is like, who are you at the very core of it, behind everything, this human flesh? Like, who are you? When you let it all go, what's left?
Oh,
that will always be there. So can we pride ourselves on that?
Yes, queen. Yes. And like, it's amazing because if who we are at our core, and like if we were to strip away all these things, is that formless energy. Like before anything was a thing, it was a thought, right? It's intelligence. It's this knowing. And so I think that like your physical reality is a reflection of that. Like it's no coincidence that you're this absolutely stunning woman. But also what I see in you, Moriah, is resilience and strength. And to me, you are the definition of a power femme. And the reason why I say that is because a power femme doesn't happen on accident, right? Like what a fascinating story. You were given a mother who's a dancer, a father who's a pastor, right? Or
more to it. Yeah.
Yeah, more to it.
He was a drug lord.
Okay. This story gets better and better because it's like you are not the things that happen to you in 100%. Your life. You are not even what you do with it, right? You are not any of it.
Yeah.
But you're here. You're a conduit. You are the vehicle for greater expression, for higher intelligence, 100%. For the lessons of all, right? Of all involved. And so to me, you represent like so much permission for what a woman can be, despite shame, despite labels, despite roles that are projected on women. Like, despite all of that, you are the ultimate permission slip. And your story, like, I want to hear about the drug lord father and like this just goes so deep, but definitely something that I want to bring up is a traumatic experience that you had in your childhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were a child when you experienced gun violence.
Yeah, I was 11 years old.
So can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like, what happened to your innocence at that point?
Oh, wow. Already, even before that point, I was a very unwell, emotionally, mentally unwell child. My family background was very abusive, physically and emotionally. And my mother, who I lived with during the week, was never home. And so I really raised myself since I was a little girl. And it was a Friday morning. I was in 6th grade. I was 11 years old. And I never, ever, ever woke up before my alarm clock at that age. And there was one Friday morning where for some reason I woke up naturally on my own before my alarm went off to get ready for school. And so I was just laying in my bed. And I lived in an apartment complex. My mom was at the gym at that time. She would go to the gym in the mornings and then pick me up and then take me to school. And so I was home alone, and I heard some commotion right outside my bedroom window. And I just went over to my window, and I was looking up the blinds, and I saw my neighbor who was loading up her toddler, her baby, into the car. She was going to take her to daycare, and she was loading up her car. And from what I could make out in the conversation, because I couldn't hear anything that this man was saying, but she was approached by this guy, and from what I could gather, she was in a relationship with him, and she had been trying to break up with him, and he just wasn't accepting it. And so I'm listening to this conversation. I'm just eavesdropping, really, and peeping outside my blinds. And this was just feet away from me. The parking lot was right in front of my bedroom. And I can't hear anything that he's saying because he's speaking at such a low volume, but I can hear what she's saying. And she's just saying, I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't. I don't think we should do this. I'm sorry. I think this is for the best. This and this. So I could tell that she's breaking up with him, and he's really quiet. He's very rigid and not very active with his physicality. And for some reason, there was no visible weapon on him at all. There was no visible violence. And he's speaking at a low volume, almost whispering. And so this is one of my first encounters with being psychic. I just got this message, this download that told me very matter-of-factly, you need to pay attention to everything that is happening right now. You need to pay attention to what he's wearing and to what is being said, because he's going to kill her, and you're going to have to tell the police what happened. And I was just watching. And it was so matter-of-fact. It was just a thought. We come with so many thoughts throughout our day that it was just a thought, and it left. And I was just watching, and then my alarm went off. So then I went to go iron my school uniform in the living room. And as I was ironing my uniform, a few minutes into it, after I left the window, I hear just a blood-curdling scream, and then immediately after, gunshots. So I ran to my bedroom back to the window to watch, and she was running away from him and he was just shooting her over and over again. And she was screaming out for help and screaming for someone to grab her daughter. And it took everything in my being. I was 11. I was a kid. It took everything in my being to not faint in that moment. My heart was out of its chest. I was dizzy. The room was spinning. And I ran to my Hello Kitty phone and I called the 3 numbers that we're told to call as for kids for an emergency. And an operator comes on and I just yell into the phone. I was like, you need to come. You need to save her. My neighbor has been shot. You need to come save her. And so I tell them what happens, and they tell me to not leave the apartment until they said to stay in my apartment until someone, a police officer or firefighter, comes and gets me. And by the time I hang up, he's nowhere to be found. He's out of sight. He fled the scene. And then after a few minutes, slowly neighbors start coming out. And I tried calling my mother, not answering. Call her, voice message. Call her, voice message. Call her. I give up. I then call my best friend who's 11 years old, and I'm like screaming into the phone. And then I see one of my neighbors was a firefighter, and I see him come out of his apartment. So I didn't even have shoes on. I just ran outside to him, and I had a pink SpongeBob pajama top and my little limited 2 pajama bottoms. And I ran out to him and I was like, I saw everything. Like, I saw it happen. I saw everything. I listened to what happened before. And so later on, I had to go to these detectives, but for children. Like, they were law investigators, but because I was underage, it had to be in this like safe environment for me, for people who are professional and experienced with working with kids. And so I had to go. It's like what you see on TV where you enter a room and there's like one side of the room, there's a giant mirror, and you just know behind the mirror is people watching in.
Yeah.
And there's cameras in the corners of the room. And I'm seated with a bunch of stuffed animals, and an investigator comes in and says, okay, this is Officer so-and-so. The time is this, and this on this November, whatever the date was. And I'm with Moriah Garcia, age 11. Moriah, can you please confirm your date of birth and everything? And then I had to say what happened. And the whole time in my mind, I thought she was alive. I thought she was just getting help at the hospital. And all I could think about was how I wanted to go visit her in the hospital. I didn't really know her before because I had only seen her like walking the stroller. So I didn't really know her, but she was my neighbor. And in that moment, I felt so, I'm an empath, and I felt so connected to her. And I just wanted to go visit her in the hospital and like hold her hand and tell her she was going to be okay. Her name is Tanya West, and unknowingly she was pregnant at the time. So both her and her unborn child did not make it. She was dead on arrival. And I received 0 therapy.
Wow.
No parent hugged me.
Wow.
Yeah, no adult said, are you okay? Aside from my teachers. My teachers and some other people in my life that were not family showed support. But I was so young. And I think the hardest part with my childhood was my mom. There's strengths that she's had as a mother, and there's a lot of areas where we could have been closer. And I remembered, she was never home, but I think the times when she was home was almost more detrimental, because I remember there was one day where I was crying myself to sleep that night. I had what's called survivor's guilt. I was already, even at that age, had already attempted to take my life, even before that had happened as a kid.
Wow.
And so I really was mentally unwell. And then after that happened, it was just worse, because I felt like I should have saved her. I felt like I should have done something to stop the gunman. I should have jumped on his back. I should have distracted him. I should have ran out. And now, like, it should have been me who had to go, because I, like, have a mother who doesn't want me. who doesn't love me. And now there's a little girl who has to grow up without their mother who loved her. And now this little girl has to grow up without her. And I felt so guilty. I felt I had survivor's guilt. I would not allow myself to not think about the shooting for many years, like almost a decade. I would feel guilty if I caught myself thinking about something normal, because I felt like I needed to keep her in my life, keep her alive in my mind to do her justice. Like, I don't know. It was just a whole survivor's guilt. So it was really strong with me. I had a lot of shame about staying alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Moriah. I just like want to hug 11-year-old Moriah.
Yeah.
How did you go from that shame and guilt, not feeling worthy of even being alive anymore, navigating like the internal battle of like, should I even be here? Do I even belong to be here?
It was crazy because my mother, she felt like salt on my wound, and I needed a hug. My love language is touch and words of affirmation, and I needed a hug. I needed a mother to look me in the eyes and say, "Are you okay? I'm here for you." And I remember one time my mom came in my room and I was crying myself to sleep. And she went to get something and she saw me and she said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "I just feel so guilty. I feel so bad about what happened. I feel so bad." And she said, "Oh, Moriah, it's a matter of life or death. Everyone dies in this life. Get over it." And like closed the door and left. So now I feel even more alone than what being alone would have meant. And so it's so interesting because I remembered I would close my eyes and I would think like what I needed in that moment. And it sounds so cheesy, but this literally like helped save my life, is I would think about what I needed in that moment. And I visualized, I could cry. I visualized the older version of myself. I visualized what I looked like in the future. And to me, like she looked like an angel. And she had long dark hair and she was so pretty. For some reason, I thought I was going to be really tall. Far from, I'm 5 foot. But in my mind, I just saw this vision and I stood so tall and I was this tall, radiant, almost like an angel, but it was me in the future. And I had a vision of me hugging myself. Yeah. And I was like, when I get older, I'm going to give the best hugs, especially to kids, because they need it. And I just had this feeling of like my older version just holding me and being the mother that I needed. And it was so crazy because a few years ago, I gave myself my own meta session. That's what my meditation practice is called, is Meta with Moriah. And I gave myself my own meta session, and I got to be that person in that moment hugging the little Moriah. So I got to be on the other end of it, and I held her and I like gave her what she needed, which was that love to hang on.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting emotional over here, Moriah. I just like don't know how you could possibly turn into the most beautiful person inside and out when coming from such a traumatic life, right? Like traumatic experience.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know where we go from there, because that is just so incredibly deep and hard. And when I hear your story, Moriah, I just think about how, isn't it interesting how like the most beautiful people and some of the most successful people in the world come from a story like this. It like truly is where like the underdog becomes the hero.
Yeah.
And it's like you became your own hero.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you're envisioning this like taller, loving presence, like I'm imagining your highest self.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was.
It's like that was, and that is your intuition there at such a young age, knowing like, okay, the answers are within me.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's that voice within can guide me, which is what really foresight is.
My religious views, I've always been a person of faith, but what my faith has looked like has really evolved. And before, when I was younger, I always felt like I had to pray outwardly. And sometimes I was really hard when I was in dark chapters of my life, because sometimes God to me felt so external, like unreachable, above the clouds, like far away. And sometimes when I was in a storm in my life where my deepest like demons are within me, and trying to even just literally stay alive was so hard. I lost a sibling to suicide, and gosh, it's hard when like that's really your battles yourself. Like it's really
Moriah,
hard.
come on. We just keep on pulling the layers back and back and back.
Yeah.
So this was your brother?
Yeah. Almost all my siblings. I have 4 siblings and 3 brothers, 1 sister, and almost all of them have gone through their own individual journeys, and some of them still are. So 1 sibling is still and has been for most of my life a drug addict, and still is. And then the other sibling, he just, since he was little, just was so like, he was so suicidal, and he to me was a ticking time bomb. I intuitively knew that I wouldn't have him forever, and so he took his life when I was in college. And one of my sisters, or my only sister, she is a recovering alcoholic and sober now, and I'm really proud of her.
Wow.
So yeah. So when I went to college freshman year, my stepdad, who was the first like of my mother's husbands and partners that I really was connected to, and I really loved him. We lost him to diabetes and cancer my freshman year of college. Sophomore year of college, my brother attempted to take his life, and was in a coma for about a week. We thought we might lose him, and then if he stayed on, that we might have him with brain damage. And fortunately, like, he came out of it, and then months after coming out of a coma, actually did take his life. And that was my sophomore year in college. And then my junior year in college, my dad passed away. And during that time, I had to go to court a second time to testify against the shooter. And when you're in the courtroom, the person who was closest to me in proximity was the shooter himself.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I had to revisit. I was the reason that he has been in jail for as long as he's been in, because he tried to lie and say that it was self-defense. And because I saw what happened in the conversation, that it was premeditated. And so I was what they call a star witness, and have been the reason why he's been in jail for as long as he's been, because I was able to prove that it was premeditated. Yeah.
Moriah.
So I had to revisit all those memories, and there was so much pressure on me to get the story straight, because literally a killer could be on the loose if I don't get the story straight.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about like a purpose, right? Like
Yeah.
I really like to look at the way we live our life, the way we lead our life is like, it's our responsibility, right? And like, by no means did you ever deserve to be put in any of those situations, but you know that like by speaking up and by using your voice, it's your responsibility, because quite literally you can save someone's life.
Yeah.
That's incredible, Moriah.
Thank you.
And I'm so curious, like, I'm a big believer in like your mess is your message. It is. And I'm curious, like, how have you been able to take all this pain and turn it into your purpose?
I had to be.
Because your purpose was not to be this like daughter of a drug lord and stripper, and
I
like
cannot
they're
believe
loving
I'm here
people.
right now.
These are
Yeah.
loving people. You know, I was once told that, you know, bad people don't go to jail. People go to jail to learn, right? And so I'm not saying that like your parents were bad in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I have no judgments against them at all. I don't know if you do to this point, or if you've forgiven them, or if you love them, you see them as whole, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting to think about, like, okay,
Yeah.
what's the purpose of all of this? Like, I didn't
Right.
go this far just to come this far.
Yeah.
God didn't put me in this situation for nothing.
Exactly. there has been points in my life, because it feels like the story, I'm writing a book, a memoir about all of these experiences, and I can't stop the writing process, because the journey is still continuing. Like,
Right.
things are still happening.
Dude, your life is a movie.
And I got to a point where there's so many points, Heidi, where I would just look at the sky and yell at God and be like, what's the deal? I really strongly convicted for so long. I thought that God didn't want me to be here. I really thought. I was like, God either hates me and doesn't want me to be here, or he has a really, really strong purpose for me.
Yeah.
It's either or. I feel that before I came to Earth, I feel like, when you go to Chipotle and you get to order all your food, you're like, okay, I want some rice. I want this rice. I want these beans. I want the tortilla. I want salsa. I want guac. All the things. I want all of it. I want a bowl of everything in this. And I feel like that's what I chose before I came to Earth.
It's like your contract with God.
Yeah. I was like, I came to Earth to have I want a full human experience. I want the full human experience. Give it to me. And that right before I come to Earth, the angels are like, you do know guac is extra, right? And I'm like, yeah, load it up.
Oh
I want to live every type of experience a human can have. I want to be poor as heck. I want to be rich. I want to date movie stars. I want to be in a crazy relationship where I'm scared. I want to and I'm heartbroken. I want to fall in love so deeply and then it tears me apart afterwards. I really feel that I have lived so much already, and it's just I've gotten to experience the full human spectrum.
Yes.
And I will say the beautiful thing about going through so many different experiences of pain is that I have this gift and ability to, whenever someone talks to me about any type of pain, where I know survivors of gun violence, I know people who have lost siblings or relatives or loved ones, either from health conditions or from suicide. I know people who've gone through trauma from partners, abuse, whether it's sexual abuse or physical or emotional abuse, whatever the pain is, I have this ability to connect with someone.
Mm-hmm.
I have been a mentor for a survivor of sex trafficking, and one of my favorite moment with her was one time I had her hang out with me and some wonderful friends of mine, and we did some yoga workshop thing and had a good day with some loved ones. And afterwards I was driving her home, and on the drive home, she, my mentee, did not come from a loving environment and felt like her mother didn't love her. Still feels that way, and was put in foster care because of it.
Wow.
And then got exposed to sex trafficking through foster care. And I was driving my mentee home, and as I'm driving her home, reflecting on the day with her, she says, "Oh, I love your friends so much. I wish they were I wish they were my friends." And I look at her and I say, "They're your friends." And she said, "No, they're your friends." And I'm like, just because I met them first and introduced you to them doesn't mean they're not your friends. They are equally your friends as they're my friends. They're your friends. They love you. And she starts rejecting this love and friendship. And we get down to the root to it. And she just opens up. And basically the root of it was because she never felt loved by her own mother, feels she can't receive love from anybody. And I had the car parked in front of her home, and I just look at her directly in the eyes, and I felt like God talking through me, and I'm just speaking to her, and I say, "I am so sorry that you did not receive the love that you deserve, that your mother did not care for you in the way that you deserve. I am so sorry that you went through all of this heartache and felt rejected by your own parents and abandoned and this, and this, and this," and just poured it out. And later on, we had a really good moment, and I cried. And when I got home, when I drove away after dropping her off, I realized that what I told her was everything I wish someone told me.
Mm.
And I actually thanked God in that moment as I drove home. I said, thank you. Thank you for giving me a mother that I felt like I wasn't loved by. Thank you. Like true gratitude.
Yes.
And I was like, because if I did not have that, I would not have had that moment with her. And that moment with her was invaluable.
Moriah, in that moment, you went from victim to victor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, the thing I'm hearing the most in your story, there's so many things. Like, your pain has a purpose. God is using you.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't understand it, but it's like for the greater good, right?
Yeah.
It's for reasons beyond ourselves. But like, I think it's truly incredible to take all the pain, all of the trauma, and then weaponize that almost, where it's like, this didn't happen to me. This happened for me.
Yep.
I'm going to use my experience and like help the greater good, help other people who've been through, like, what a beautiful purpose that you help women who've been sex trafficked, like the victims of sex trafficking. Like, that's so incredible.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like, it right now to me, you illustrate the spectrum between duality.
Yep.
You said to me the other day, you were like, I'm the whore and I'm the mother. Yes. What was it? What were we talking about?
We were talking about Mary Magdalene, and I am in this fiery moment of just going over Mary Magdalene and who she was. And
tell my audience, who is Mary Magdalene for those who don't know?
I want to do her service, and I'm still so new into studying her. So if someone feels that I'm saying something incorrectly, you're so welcome to kindly fact check me.
Yeah.
Kindly, because I say this with love. Mary Magdalene was Jesus's spiritual companion. She was basically his wife.
Yep.
They might have not been actually married or betrothed, but she was his beloved, and she was his spiritual companion. And the wild thing is, growing up, we feel that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute.
Whore. Yeah, in the Bible, she's illustrated as a prostitute.
Yes.
She was a quote whore, or like a prostitute. Yes, exactly. That's what she's depicted as. She's one of the most important people in the Bible, y'all. She's there at Jesus' resurrection.
She's the first person when Jesus resurrects and exits the tomb. She's the first person he sees. She was with him as he's not only giving sermons, but she gave sermons as well. And she was a great contributor to who he was. Jesus historically, if you just, like, let's say you're not a follower of Christ. If you just focus on him historically alone, he is someone who has impacted the world within 2 years. So anyone who else is going through their Saturn return,
Jesus was in his Saturn return when he died, I wonder.
Jesus was in his Saturn return. We don't know a lot about Jesus until around his 31st year of life.
That is totally Saturn return.
And he died at 33.
Oh, totally.
We do not know. We know a tiny bit about his birth.
I wonder if we can look up Jesus' birth chart. I think we can.
Tune into the Akashic records.
Yeah.
So Jesus historically has been the most impactful person in the world in history for the shortest amount of time. And it was 2 years. So if you feel like you don't have your life together, just wait. You're maybe not even he was a carpenter. I don't know how great his carpentry skills was. I don't know how good his day job was.
Oh my God.
But
Moriah,
we really don't know a lot about him in his childhood, in growing up. So around 31 is when we start to know about Jesus's teachings. Mm-hmm. And 33 is when he was crucified. And so Mary Magdalene was his partner. And she, at that time, women were considered property. They were like basically slave level. And I believe it was Paul who was really offended that Paul believed in Jesus and can acknowledge the wonderfulness that was Christ, but was like, who's this woman that he's bringing around with the boys? This is boy talk. Right. We're the leaders. We're the men.
Right.
Who is she kissing him on the mouth? How dare she? She's property. Like, she shouldn't even be in the room. And so I think it's just absolutely bewildering that people who are Christ followers or maybe not, that we can see Jesus as this savior of sins. He died for us. He is the Messiah. All of these wonderful things. He is the chosen one. He is the Son of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of these wonderful things. And you just think that by chance he just had a poor choice in women.
Right.
That Jesus, he could sure die for our sins, but he really doesn't know how to pick them. Like how to pick a lady.
Right.
Like you really
Like,
think
no
that
way.
like he's just like not
Right. No,
intelligent in that department
so
of dating.
fascinating. Like how, like a partner is so important in a partnership. Like a woman is so important to a man. Like talking about just like the feminine and the masculine and like just me being a married woman. And also like, I do believe in Jesus and like that's my personal path, whatever. I've got my whole experience and like, I'm not trying to project this onto anybody, but like, it is fascinating that we don't sit here and wonder who was Jesus romantically involved with and what kind of a woman she had to have truly been to be with that partner. Like, obviously she was a vibe. Mary Magdalene had to have been some sort of like intuitive, God-loving, faithful in some way. And like, you know, everyone gets off about, I'm sorry, I'm going off right now, but everyone gets off about how you should live this way, you should do this. And everyone is so quick to be the judge when there's only one judge. There's only one. Right? It's God. And you're judged the moment you go, the moment you pass, whatever that might be. I don't know. But how are we not sitting here being like, but who was she? Who was she? I'm fascinated by this. It blew my mind because she's a whore and she's also the lover. So
she has this quote. Let me pull it up.
I mean, and what a beautiful, like, this is so illustrative of like just, you know, women being burned at the stake and forgotten and like minimized. And, you know, it's like she was literally there as he was pinned to the cross.
Yes.
She followed him around. Like she's in a very important role in the Bible. And so important. Why are we not talking about her? That's all I want to know.
Helped him become who he is. I'm not saying she made Jesus.
No, of course not.
We like spiritual companion.
I just want to know.
I think about we all have gifts in partnership of what our partner contributes to us and what we contribute to the relationship and how we grow together and evolve together and open each other up.
Yep.
And we as women, like we have gifts.
Yes.
We are more intuitively connected. We really help men. And this is for heterosexual relationships, but there's the masculine, there's the feminine, it's whatever your partnership is. But we each have gifts. And as women or people with wombs, like we help the other lean into their emotions.
Yes. And literally, if you think about women, like we're the portal to life.
Yes.
And so there's something magical about a woman. And this is so PowerFemme. It's like there's just something magical about a woman who knows her ability to take something and create it in the physical world, which is so like aligned with Jesus's teachings and like God and taking something and taking nothing and making it into something, right?
Yeah. She gave sermons. She was wise. She actually had contributions to the Bible that were taken out. She had gospels. And so there's this one quote. So I'm currently reading this book called Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson. And there's this one quote, and I believe this is from Mary Magdalene herself. And it's from, I think it's called The Thunder Perfect Mind. It's mentioned in the book that I'm reading, Mary Magdalene Revealed. This is my favorite quote. I cannot. It says, I am the first and I am the last. I am she who is honored and she who is scorned. I am the whore and the holy woman. I am the wife and the virgin. I am the bride and the bridegroom. I am she, the Lord.
Wow.
The whore and the holy woman.
I am she, the Lord.
I relate to it so much with that one line of, I feel like I'm just stepping into this energy of accepting who I am unapologetically and releasing my care for other people's opinions of me and just being who I am. And I myself have been and am a sexually expressive person. Ironically enough, celibate. Like I think when people look at my social media could probably think that I'm just a hoe. And that's fine if they think that. I'm actually celibate. I'm 7 months celibate right now. I go on long celibacy streaks. Right now is 7 months. The streak before that was 19 months, so a year and 7 months. The one before that was 9 months. I will go on long celibacy streaks. And sexual energy is creative energy.
Yes.
So I am doing a disservice to myself. Like if I'm not pole dancing, if I'm not dancing in general, ecstatic dancing, if I'm not dressing the way that I want or flowing the way that I desire, it's pent up energy and I'm not getting the work done that I want to get done with writing my book, with working with clients, whatever it is. I'm like suppressing my sexual and in turn creative energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
So
think about the product of sex is birth, right? And so
exactly.
you're birthing your creative ideas
It's
into
creation.
the world. Yes.
It's creation, whether it's a child or a project,
Yes.
an idea,
Yes.
it's creation. Sexual energy is creative energy. And because I'm sexually inactive, I'm very selective of who my partners are. So because I'm sexually inactive, like I need to express myself in other ways. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mariah.
Oh, my top.
Boob slip. I love. We're at an hour and a minute.
Okay.
Which so like we can kind of like wrap up here
Okay.
or whatever. But
Yeah.
this whole like I feel like we just opened the pot. Like we just like pulled the lid off the top and it feels like the tea is piping hot. Like the energy is there, the heat is there. Like you are so totally on to something. And so I would love to hear like where do you think people should go with this? Like if someone's listening to this podcast and they're like, Mariah just blew my mind. I never thought about any of these things. Like, you know, maybe you're listening to this and you think like, maybe you even realize just how closed you are and like not tapped into your femininity, your creativity, your energy, your source, your purpose. Where should we go from here?
I want people to feel the full permission to be who they are. So I'm not telling someone to be like me. I'm not telling you to do pole dancing. I'm not telling you to wear skimpy clothes or take thirst trap pics. If you desire it, do it. But I'm not telling you what to do with how you express yourself. What I would encourage you to do is to lean into where your desires are taking you. Are you curious about anything? Are you scared to be seen in a new light? Are you scared to let some people down with how they view you? Whether it's people from your past or that you went to high school with or your own family or partner. I think that could be a challenging thing with long-term partnership is like when someone grows in a different direction, does the other person grow with them? And so I think it's just so vital that you are true to who you are. And at the very bare minimum, can you be alone in a room and just center yourself and close your eyes and feel, who am I? One, detached from everything, like the exercise we did. Who am I when I let go of my name, when I let go of my identity and the parents that I was born with and the family that I was born into and the schools that I went to and the career that I've had? Who am I beneath it all, detached from all of that? Start there and then start leaning into how do I want to experience this world? Do you want to pick up a hobby that you've been daydreaming about, something that you've never done? Some of the best moments of your life or like hobbies, you probably have zero idea that you're good at something because you haven't even tried. Crocheting, surfing, water sports, I don't know, like anything. There's so many versions to ourselves. We see kids, and it's exciting when you see a kid growing up and you start to see their personality and their interests. And you're like, oh, little Susan, she loves dancing. And oh, Bobby's so good at soccer. And so is really good at math. And then you see them start to develop their personalities. And by the time of college, all of a sudden it just stops there. And then who they've been up to that point, they're just going to continue on for the rest of their life. It's like, yeah, little Susan could have been great at dancing. And now she wants to explore painting or writing. Or Bobby is gifted at math and has had this career in financing or accounting or banking, whatever it is. But deep down, he wants to be a DJ or make music or like whatever it is.
Yes.
Like
yes.
you some things that you might be so good at that might be your favorite form of either escapism or living. You haven't even touched.
Right.
You haven't even explored. You haven't even looked under those covers to see if like, is this a world that I can see myself in?
Wow.
Yeah. So can you give yourself permission at the end of the day? Like, explore, allow yourself.
Be something new. Be what you're not. What you're not, right?
Yeah.
Like air quotes.
And we can hold space and acknowledge that if I present myself in this way, I might be losing my job. I might disappoint so-and-so in my life. Other people might talk crap about me behind my back, if whatever. You can acknowledge that and you can hold space, and that might hurt and that might feel uncomfortable. That might feel uncomfortable to have this shift and change. And can you just hold it and think, okay.
But who am I on the other side of this?
Yeah. And how free would I feel if I did it anyways?
Oh, Moriah. I love it.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful way to I feel like end this. I want to ask you one thing though.
Okay.
I want you to imagine that you are in a parking lot and you're going up in an elevator, right? You're in some big important building. It's a big day. Highest version of Moriah, most confident version of Moriah. She's going somewhere, right? And you're standing in the elevator and all of a sudden the doors open and in walks a little girl. You have 30 seconds to impart your wisdom on her before she goes on throughout her day. What would you say to her? And how do you want to leave her feeling after encountering you?
Woo! Wow, no pressure. 30 seconds. I would get on her eye level and I would look her directly in the eyes and I would smile. And I would ask her to tell me who she is. Yeah. She introduces herself to me. And I just hold space for it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moriah Garcia. What a pleasure to have you. How can people keep in touch with you and learn more? Because there's so much more that we didn't even get into, you guys.
Yeah.
Good Lord, there's so much.
Yeah, you can send prayers for me to have motivation to finish this book. I'm getting there. I'm writing at a glacial pace.
If you want to contact me, just send me good vibes. Yeah.
Yeah. Social media, I'm super active on Instagram mostly. And I also am a meditation practitioner and I'm starting to do a sub branch of just working specifically with women. It can be any gender, but specifically with women, with just honing in on their truest authentic expression. So I do meditation where I'm channeling and taking you on your own personalized journey. So social media, probably Instagram is the biggest way to connect with me.
Beautiful. Yeah. Just search Moriah Garcia.
Moriah Garcia.
Wow, she has the handle, ladies and gentlemen.
Moriah Garcia.
Moriah. Moriah, you're beautiful. You're amazing. You're so talented. Thank you for coming on the PowerFemme podcast.
Oh, babe, you are just a reflection of all those things. So thank you so much for hosting this. And I adore you.
I love you.
I love you so much.
I am the mother and I am the whore. I am the whore and the holy woman.
I am all the things.
I like that.
Yeah. I love you.
I love you too. Yay. Good job. That's a wrap.